Thomas from Unpaved. Today I have the pleasure of talking to David Rawlings about his second solo album, Nashville Obsolete. I've been absolutely loving your second solo album, Nashville Obsolete. I would say it has to be my favourite of the year, hands down, and it's a great pleasure to be able to have a chat with you. Can you tell us?
Well, thank you very much.
Can you tell us a bit about how you approach things differently this time around?
Sure. Well, the first Machine record that we made was a little bit of a catch-all. I mean, if I were going to try to sound like it was a bigger deal than it actually was, I would say it kind of, when I look back on it now, was sort of like a greatest hits for a bunch of records I never made.
Yeah, sure.
Because you know, there were songs that I'd written over the years and some songs that Gillian and I had written that we hadn't used. And then there were some songs we wrote right at the time that we were making it, and we sort of combined it all in some covers, of course.
Yep.
And we kind of put it all together and made sort of like a collection of songs. And I like the record for that. I mean, I think it was a nice way to sort of introduce, you know, what we now call the Machine to the world.
Yes.
But this next record, in a way, was like our first record. It was, you know, we wrote the songs more like we would have written them for a Gillian Welch record, and with the intention that they would live together as a body of work, and they would deal with, you know, the same sort of themes throughout the record to some degree, and that there would be a continuity to it, and hopefully an emotional, you know, arc to it as a piece of work.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds very cohesive to me. And another thing that's really noticeable to my ears is that your voice seems to really sound a whole lot more confident on this one. Can you talk a bit about, you know, how you approach the singing side?
Well, you know, the first Machine record was very much, part of the reason that happened was I had just, at that moment, I thought my voice had sort of mellowed enough that, you know, I could kind of bear to listen to it back on tape. I mean, I always liked singing harmony, but I didn't sing very much lead ever. And so, you know, even after that, we did some touring, and, you know, I was never exactly satisfied with the way my voice sounded. And I'm still not, you know, entirely satisfied, but over the years in the interim, you know, I have done a lot more singing and worked on it quite a bit because I love to sing, and it's a great pleasure and an honor to be able to, you know, stand up and front a band.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, we've done some more touring and just, you know, put some miles on it. And honestly, though, I mean, you know, a lot of that is I can just chalk up to, I decided to, you know, treat it as much like I treated my guitar at the beginning and realized that it's something you just have to work at.
Yeah.
Sing a lot and think about what you're doing that you don't like and try to make it a little bit better. So I'm glad that you hear a change because I tried.
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds absolutely brilliant. I mean, yeah, there's no complaint about the first record, but like, I think one of the really the things that I appreciate about your approach to music, whether it's with Gillian or the more solo or titled work, is that what you do between voice and guitar, it's very much like a package, and you know, it's not like you're necessarily trying to go all out with pure guitar, but certainly on this record I can hear more of your voice, and your guitar comes through in a way that I'm not sure that I've heard on any previous recordings.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, I don't know exactly how we did, you know, technically there were a few little changes to the way we recorded things. We had a few different pieces of gear that I got kind of working nicely. And so there might be a little, you know, a little bit, you know, technically there might be some things that are throwing the voice forward a little more. And I think we felt like with these songs that was appropriate, you know, that the songs had a little bit of a boldness to them that seemed like they were, you know, it was appropriate and it was accentuated by, you know, using that kind of technical approach with the vocal.
Yes.
And it did a nice thing also to let the way that Gillian's vocal colors things on this record, I think, is different than on other work of ours. There's a very otherworldly quality to her harmonies on this record where she comes in, it changes the mood quite a bit. And I really love the way that worked. You know, and one of the things that she does on this record, actually, that I don't think we've ever done before is, you know, as we've been singing over the last few years, sometimes when I'm singing, she'll be sort of like humming along in the background. And it's sort of a thing that, like, you know, you hear Emmy Lou do that sometimes on records. And it's a nice flavor. It really, it gives it a sort of support without, you know, that you don't necessarily, you're not conscious of all the time. But it provides this sort of emotional backdrop that I think that is wonderful. I think it's a great thing that she's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like on the one, the record has, you know, there's that distinctive sort of combination of voices sound, but yeah, there's a lot of, I hear, you know, quite. There's a fun side and also a bit of spookiness in there, and like an idiosyncratic, but always, you know, tuneful approach, which is like a signature, I guess, for you guys, isn't it?
Thank you. You know, we the songs themselves ended up having a little bit of a, you know, they sprawl a little bit because they all ended up as rather 3-section songs, you know, where there was sort of a verse part and then sort of a pre-chorus part and then choruses, and in some cases also bridges. And so, you know, we enjoyed writing songs that had more movements than we generally deal with, you know, and for arrangements, that was also fun because if you do have a shorter verse and then a pre-chorus, you're able to bring in a harmony or bring in some cases, the strings, or bring in, you know, a second harmony on the chorus with Willie Watson. It kind of, it gave us, you know, it was different than other records we've made, and a few, you know, there were a few key differences, and I was pleased with the way we dealt with those, and I'm glad that they sort of hit your ear good, you know? Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about expanding the surrounding musicians, including strings and other harmonies and whatnot? Because clearly you've had fun with that, and you know it really kind of adds a new dimension. So yeah, how did all that sort of take shape?
Well, we initially intended on making this record, and we intended on making it as a trio with Gillian and I and with Paul Coe playing bass. And, you know, Gillian and I are very sensitive as we're doing work. You know, we will go the way the song leads us. And that was my initial idea because I thought on the first Machine record, I hadn't really played all that much guitar. And I thought, well, if we strip it down to a trio, I'll have to play quite a bit of lead guitar, and it'll be a little bit more of a guitar-based record, which I thought would be, I thought people would like, and I wanted that. I wanted to be able to play a little more guitar in the shows. So we started out that way, and then as the recordings progressed, it was very natural, like on the first track, The Weekend, to bring in Willie Watson to, you know, to sing a third part, to sing a baritone harmony. And as we listened to the track, you know, we had recorded, I thought, you know, this would sound really nice if there were some drums here. So we had Gillian add some drums to it. And then in the end, you know, I've always been very interested in trying to arrange strings, and I've never done it. So with just a few days, we were sort of running up against the deadline. We had 4 or 5 days left. I just dove in and, you know, tried to learn how to do string arrangements. Which, you know, I ended up staying awake for 3 or 4 days straight, but, you know, we got it done. And, you know, and so, I have to say, on a song like The Trip, we had tried as a trio a couple times and didn't really get performances that we thought were satisfying. And then, you know, Brittany, and Jordan, who play with Paul in a trio, they came over and we were busy in the studio, and Paul said, well, let me have Britt and Jordan come over and cook us dinner.
Yep.
So they cooked dinner, and after dinner, I said, well, why don't you guys grab your instruments and let's try to cook this long song. And we played it a couple times, and just having that new energy in the room and the beautiful lines that they were, that Britt was playing on fiddle and the sort of strength that Jordan gave it on the mandolin, all of a sudden we had a performance that I thought would stand the test of time.
Fantastic.
And I mean, and that is one of the great thrills of recording is, you take you're constantly working on, or we are, constantly working on hunches and, just trying things, and then, you fail far more often than you succeed, but it's so satisfying when you finally find something, when you hear something back and you say, yes, I'm proud of this, and this is something that I think people are going to be able to listen to for, a long period of time and still find something else hidden in there.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing is dearer to my heart than records that you put on after 20 years and you're still hearing things in them that make you happy and that you didn't notice before.
Yeah, absolutely. And although you've dropped the word obsolete into the title, I think that, this is a record that it has a lot of references and touchstones, to Bob Dylan and Neil Young and other earlier traditional music that are like, little rewards along the way, but you do keep this integrity to the whole sound, and the level of polish is just gorgeous. But yeah, on that whole obsolete idea, you guys obviously survive largely on a pretty full-on touring schedule. So how do you see albums fitting into really what you do? I mean, obviously, it's incredibly important to us listeners, but yeah.
Well, the world lives, look, people will tell you that people consume music differently, or they'll tell you that people don't want to pay for music anymore. And, none of that is true. The fact is people are as excited about music as they ever were. And in fact, they're paying more for music than they ever were.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put together your phone bill and your internet and you look at what you're paying per month, that's a lot more than what people used to pay per month for music. But the problem is, the internet providers are keeping all the money, and the people who make creative content and make movies and TV and songs don't really get paid for the things that the internet providers are letting people have for virtually no money. So it's, how does it fit in? It's essential. People wouldn't come out to see bands if they weren't making new music that they loved. And the fact is, if you spend a couple years writing songs or, spend, thousands and thousands of dollars recording them and trying to make them beautiful, just the fact that the music economy has changed to where people don't think that's worth what a glass of fresh pressed juice is worth, they don't actually believe that. They're already paying for it. The problem is you can't make people pay for something twice. You can't say to someone, you're paying $200 for your phone and your internet, but now spend another $40 for music every month. So until the internet providers are held accountable to basically, ruining the music economy, we'll be where we are. And people will still make a living playing live. It's not that big of a deal in the global scheme of things. But, it's a moment, it's where we are at this moment. And I mean, I don't know why I necessarily, go on that little, but, that's the way I see things. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. It seems to hold water. But, so I don't think any of it, there's part of it, of the word obsolete that I like. There's a strength in things that are obsolete. Some things become obsolete because, and remain very beautiful and remain very important. It's just, things moved on. Or maybe people decided to do something of a lower quality and that's, that's where things went. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I like the way the word obsolete goes with the word machine also.
Yeah, I think that it's there's a certain defiance, in what you're saying, and like, when so much of what is currently produced is obsolete by design, I would strongly argue that what you're doing has a timeless value that, it belies that title, and you're actually, this is a solid, built-to-last work. And,
yes,
the world is sort of, in many ways, coming around to valuing those things that have, that level of craft and care and love put into them.
Well, we know empirically that this is true, because the amount of music that's 20, 30, 40, 50 years old that people listen to on a regular basis today is by orders of magnitude higher than the amount of music that they listened to 30 years ago. People didn't listen to old music because they were very satisfied by new music.
Yeah.
There was a tiny percentage of people listening to older music. Of young people. If I meet a young person today, they're as likely to tell me that they're obsessed with, Mississippi John Hurt as they are to tell me that they're obsessed with a current pop band.
Yes.
And this is just, and that's cool. It's just where we are. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how to, it's an interesting discussion, but in the end, we just all have to put our heads down, and if we believe in the art and believe in trying to write, good songs and, to basically do the thing, I just want to do the thing that, I want to create something that someone can listen to in the same way that I listened to music when I was young, and it sort of changed my view of the world and, was the most important thing in the world to me.
Yeah,
you just want to sort of try to do something that maybe someone else can feel that way about.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've succeeded in spades as far as I'm concerned, David, and I think it.
I really appreciate it.
Like, not only does I think it gives like a fresh approach to like really great music, and I think it also gives people great pathways to all of the the sources of what's inspired you, which is a big part of the fun. I'd love to kind of talk on and on about that sort of stuff, but unfortunately our time is limited, and I do have to ask if we could hope to see your good self and Gillian in Australia anytime soon.
Well, we are planning on coming down in late summer, I think, and we don't really have, it's not all settled, so I'm not going to say it's 100% thing, but we've been working on trying to put together a nice tour down there.
Wonderful.
And we're very excited about the potential of being able to come back down after, a decade away. It's a big jump for us to get down there, but we're, we've got it, it's not ready to be announced, but I think it looks promising. So I hope to see you at a show, or, we'll probably do a good number of shows while we're down there. So.
That's absolutely wonderful news. So, I'm sure all of our listeners and readers will be delighted to hear it. And thank you so much for taking the time, David, to chat. And it's an extraordinary record, which everybody needs to grab.
Well, thank you very much.
So, thanks again, and all the best.
Thank you so much. It means the world to me that you like it so much. And have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, David. All the best. Take care. Bye.